Hey there, guys. Today we're going to start off by, I guess, asking the question, what is a linear equation? Obviously, you're watching videos on linear algebra, so linear things must be important, right? So, like I said, I'm going to start from the bottom going up. I'm going to assume that, basically you're in fifth grade or something like that, but not really like that, but I mean, that you're basically starting off at the bottom, like you don't know really any definitions or anything. So how what is a linear equation? Well, we define a linear equation, probably the way you see it, and I'll write multiple ways. Probably the way you've seen it is this guy: y equals mx plus b, where m is your slope, okay, and b is your y intercept, okay? So basically, what does this tell us? Our m gives us the slope of our line, meaning basically the rate at which it's increasing, and basically our y-intercept represents basically that when x equals 0, what would the vertical shift have to equal? So basically, let me start with this. If you have some guy, let's just say, that's just going to be Mach, and it goes through the origin, right? Just some guy, and it goes through the origin at 0, 0, right? So I'm not gonna, impose coordinates on this right now, but just a general sense of what this equation would have to be. Well, we know that we'll have to take the form that y equals mx plus b, right? We know that it has to take that form. Well, what can we say about this graph? Well, we know that because we weren't given coordinates, we can't figure out what our m value is, obviously, because we don't know where it's starting or how the slope of the line is changing, so we can't really calculate slope. However, from this graph, we know what the b value is, because, right, it goes through 0, 0, so that means that, when x is 0, we'll say, we know that the point of the line goes through 0, 0, right? So we know from that, we have the definition y equals mx plus b, right? So we know that when x equals 0, y equals 0, right? So from plugging in back into here, we know that 0 equals m times 0 plus b, right? Well, this cancels, so what do we get? We get 0, 0 equals b, right? So we know that we have no vertical shift. So now, how would you calculate the slope of your line, you might ask? Well, this is where I'll put coordinates on it. So let's look at the same last example, okay? So if you have your line, it goes through this guy, and we know it goes at 0, 0, and let's say we know that our highest point is 5, 5, okay? Let's say that's where we're looking at line. We want the equation for this line. So obviously, from our previous step, we know that it will be mx plus b, but we found out that our b was 0, right? So basically, we have to solve for what our m would have to be, right? So what would m have to equal? And I'll write two definitions for this, right? So m can be written as two things, right? M equals delta, that's what this triangle symbol means, delta y over delta x. Now this is probably, kind of foreign notation to you and you don't probably know what this means. So I'll rewrite this in a different way, but basically what this is saying is, you might have heard it rise or run, but what it basically means is you have a point, you find out you have 2 points, right? And you go from your highest point, you compare the y terms and you divide it by the comparison of the x terms, and the differences divided will give you the slope of your line. So in another way we can say this, right? M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And from our definition, we said that this is equal to delta y over delta x, right? So what did we have for our coordinates there? Well, we said that it went through 0, 0, right? And it goes up to 5, 5. So we know that m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, right? So basically let's plug in from, our graph down here. So we had this guy, we had 0, 0, and we had 5, 5. So first let's look at our y coordinates, right? And on the Cartesian plane, you always know that when you list a coordinate, it goes x, y. So we know our y2 value is 5, and our y1 value is 0. So if we substitute back in here, we know that this is 5 minus 0 over, now let's compare our x terms. We have 5 and 0 again. So then this is 5 minus 0, which is equal to 5 over 5, which is equal to 1. So from this we know that our m is 1, right? And now I'm going to prove this to you. So our equation for our line, that specific line we created, was y equals 1x plus 0. Okay? So basically, I can rewrite this the same way, because, right, when we could just keep out the 1 and just do x. So because, right, 1 times x is equal to x, right? So we can have this relationship. So, and does this equation work out? Is this what we just found correctly? Well, we know it's 0, 0. We had 2 points of the line. We had 0, 0, and we had 5, 5, right? So this relationship told us that, x equals y, right? So does this represent this line right here? And the answer is it does, right? Because if I plug into this equation right here, 0, I get an output of 0. 0 equals 0. There's my one guy. And then if I go here and say x equals 5, well, does 5 equal 5? Yes, it does. So, yeah, that's how, you basically would calculate a simple linear guy. That will be the video for right now. I'll do examples next that will probably do, a little bit more hard. I know a lot of you, just bear with me, guys. I'm just trying to go from the bottom and work up. So if you do not find this interesting, then just continue to the next videos. Okay, see you later.